Welcome back to the people of 1953. We changed up the background a little bit. We're getting a little bit better. But this is going to be part 2 to episode 5 on the Oklahoma City bombing. But today we're really going to get into the question of who predicted the bombing. I know last we talked about how Carol Howe and some of the Elm City members whistleblowed and had prior talked about blowing up federal buildings before the time happened. And did the ATF know, and did Clinton at the time know? We're gonna get into that. So this is fairly gonna be a short video. There's not too much information out here about him. A lot of it was redacted and kind of got went underneath the cover once he passed away. Lethal injection. Okay, let's get into it. Sorry, didn't leave me in the dark there. So by the name of Richard Wayne Snell was a member of the white supremacist group, the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord, aka CSA. CSA was started in Elijah, Missouri. Never knew what that was before this video. In 1971 by a polygamist named James Ellinson, Elinson. He was also a believer of the Christian identity religion and frequented at Elm City. Part 1, we talked about Elm City quite a bit. This is why I wanted to bring this guy up. So the ATF captured one live anti-tank rocket, 94 long guns, 30 handguns, 33 sawed-off shotguns, and 3.5 bars of C4 when they raided his compound. But he has nothing involved. He's nothing involved. Not a dangerous man at all. So there's really not much connection between, or let me just say that there's not too much information out there between the time of how he became a member, when he became a member, or really much of the backstory. I'll be so honest. I've been trying to look into it. Kind of just give us what they want to give. They give us what they want to give us. Like, a lot of the information is redacted. So I'll just say this: Snell would eventually, his ties to white supremacists would be, and how he got arrested would be on June 30th. Snell would kill a black state trooper in Arkansas in 1984 named Louis P. Bryant near DeQueen, Arkansas. Never heard of it until just started doing some research on this, honestly. And so Snell would have a shot. He would have a shootout with law enforcement eventually, and he would get shot several times himself before he would be taken to a hospital and eventually would be put on trial. One thing about this trial, Snell denied the allegations made against him in the crimes accused that he was committed. So he was like, oh, it's not a hate speech. No, I didn't kill this cop. No. He's basically deny, and almost until the day he got executed. So Richard Snell was a known white supremacist group, or known white supremacist, and a part of a group, CSA, remember, and frequently Elm City. So I bet you're asking, how does this tie back to Timothy McVeigh or anything? Well, allegedly, Timothy McVeigh was spotted several times, or not even allegedly, well, I'm going to say allegedly for legal purposes, but Timothy McVeigh was at Elm City several times, and so was several of his affiliates. So Richard Snell was actually executed on the same day Timothy McVeigh carried out the Oklahoma City bombing. Snell had been accused of plotting the bomb and was gonna blow up the building, which he was telling people, in revenge for the IRS raiding his house. So you're like, wait. This guy put it out there that he was gonna blow up the building as revenge for the IRS raiding his house. And sorry I'm breaking it down like that, but yes, that's as simple as he said. He told them. They're like, how did he tell them to get away with this? Well, let me just say this. One theory holds that McVeigh committed his bombing in retaliation for Snell's execution. Yes. So while he was on trial, he got the death penalty, obviously. So where can we get this recount of Snell saying everything what he did or how his action was on that day? Well, Fort Smith-based prosecutor Stephen Snyder told the FBI in 1995 that Snell wanted to blow up the Oklahoma City building as revenge. Snell blew up a rocket in his hands and told the prosecutor that was a sign of God to get that plan out of his head, like to not go ahead with his plan. The rocket blew up in his hand, so according to the federal prosecutor, he was like, oh, no. He blew it up in his hand, so he's not going to commit out this heinous crime. I'm being very sarcastic here because it just sounds asinine that, no, he said, oh, this God told him to not blow up this federal building because he blew up a bomb in his hands or a rocket in his hands. Snell had repeatedly predicted this would happen on this bombing on this exact day several times before his execution. So this kind of goes back to what we talked about Carol Howe and how she infiltrated Elm City and how several of the residents and members had been talking about blowing up several buildings, including the Alfred building. Let's take a deep breath there. So this is twice that our government has allegedly neglected basically a whistleblower saying that, hey, this is going to happen to this building on this day. And Snell repeatedly predicted it several times and told them several times, even to the day of his execution, which was the day of the bombing. One recount actually says Snell watched televised reports of Oklahoma City bombing on the day of his execution. Another report says that, or the same report, honestly, says Snell was smiling and chuckling and nodding. That's pretty much kind of where it all ties in. And he would eventually go to die, and he would just get swept beneath the radar, and nothing would ever happen again. It's kind of like several of the other recounts of some of the victims and witnesses that were a part of this as well, that just kind of got swept beneath the rug, allegedly. So just to recount that real fast before we move into the other two cover-ups, allegedly. So Richard Snell predicted Oklahoma City bombing, told them several times that it was going to happen. And so they didn't think that if it wasn't going to happen by him, remind you that he stopped because God told him it wasn't a good plan in his head because the rocket blew up in his hands. So yeah, he's like, no. It's like you shoot yourself in the foot. Can you still not shoot the robber that robs your house? Like, yes. Like, and then he would eventually watch it on the TV and chuckle and smile and laugh, and then go on and live the rest of his life and die with lethal injection. So that's the story, or the cover-up of Richard Snell, allegedly, when I say cover-ups, because for legal purposes. Let's get into the next cover-up, allegedly. So this is kind of where we're starting to backtrack to the McVeigh connection. A man by the name Devin Paul Hammer, could be Hammer, Hammer, a convicted murderer who was in prison with McVeigh at the United States Penitentiary. Terry Hout, I guess that's a penitentiary, Terrehaute. You know what I mean, guys? Some words, I'm like, I ain't getting it. Anyways, he alleged that McVeigh told him details of the Oklahoma City bombing that contradicts the accounts related in court. Sorry, it was a tongue twister. Couldn't get it out. So basically, one of his cellmates told him everything, and it would just go against everything that the cops said and everything that everyone told us. So was it a big lie or was it a big cover-up? Well, let's get into the second name that kind of ties back into this. Well, really, it'd be the third name, actually, but it'd be Kenneth Michael Trentdoe. Trentadue. It almost sounds like Trudeau, but it's not. Trentdoe was found hanging in a cell at a federal transfer center in Oklahoma City during the investigation of the Oklahoma City bombing. His death was ruled a suicide 3 years after it happened. His family states that he was murdered by members of the FBI who mistakenly believed he was involved in the Oklahoma City bombing and engaged in a cover-up. So right here, I'm going to pull up a photo of John Doe number 2. And then right here, I'm going to pull up another photo of what the men look like. Even if he wasn't John Doe number 2, why did he get killed? Or allegedly, why did he commit suicide in a cell? The crazy thing is, the Oklahoma City Chief's medical examiner said it was very unlikely he was murdered. He was murdered. So someone who looks like John Doe number 2 could possibly lead to answers and lead to investigations, or just tells them that their whole thing is corrupt because they try to put it on everybody fast as fuck. They clean the whole thing up super fast, allegedly. And so now they're like, oh, no. That can definitely be a suicide. He was definitely, that's what the cops were saying. The chief medical at the time, my bad, I'm misreading my words here, was likely said he was murdered. I apologize for the misconception or misconstrued in my words there. So the cops were like, no, the FBI was like, no, I was suicide. The chief medical examiner that observed the body is like, no possible way. Like, no possible way. He was murdered. Goes back to another famous case that we can talk about, Jeffrey Epstein, suicide. We won't get into that probably for like a couple episodes. How does Trudeau or Trent Doe tied to McVeigh? So Timothy McVeigh stated that he believed Trent Doe was mistaken for Richard Lee Guthrie. Remember, we talked about Richard Lee Guthrie in episode 1 or part 1 of this. And so it's funny that he names the guy and they come through and clean it up, supposedly. McVeigh said Trudeau was a suspected conspirator in the bomb, or not control. Guthrie was a suspected co-conspirator in the bombing who also died in official custody, allegedly from a suicide hanging. Sorry to laugh, but two of the people that could have been possibly John Doe number 2 and helped conspire this whole thing that wasn't Terry Nichols, both was found hanging in a federal custody. So we've gone through all of this. We've read what we could. We broke some analysis. And the hard thing for me is, how can you not be skeptic of this whole situation and the whole cover-up? And we're not even cracking the seal on possibly what the Clinton connection is, allegedly, in Whitewater and James McDougal, and there's a lot of names. And so with this, that's kind of how we're breaking down how a man by the name Richard Snell predicted it all, and members of Elm City, and how the ATF, FBI, and the federal government ignored it, allegedly, and let it go on and ignored the pleas of, they probably could have saved not millions of lives, obviously, but hundreds of lives and millions of dollars as well. So this leads me to my next point. The next point is, really there's no next point. It's how many more episodes do we have to do, and how many more people do we have to keep looking into just to discover the fact that the federal government allegedly was negligence. They had pure negligence towards this whole situation. While it's Michael Fortier, Michael Brisky, Jane McDougal, Clank Waldups, Dave Walloway, allegedly all those names, just putting out there pure spec. But I can keep naming more people. And how many people do we have to interview and read their life stories and go through? And how many more pages of reading and nonstop do we have to realize that there was a lot of unspoken mystery around this? And part 3 won't be necessarily about Oklahoma City bombing, but, oh yeah, it will be about Oklahoma City bombing, actually, because we have another can of worms to unworm. The Clinton connection. Allegedly. That's the one I'm going to be a little worried about. But for now, please, if you're watching this before you watch the episode 1 or part 1, this won't make any sense. Or, I mean, it'll make sense, but it won't. So, this was in the people of 1953. You can't tell. I'm trying to upgrade it, trying to give you a little bit more quality. I want you guys to see my notes, and so I'm going through, you can see that it's just not blank page after blank page. Like, it's constant writing. Soon I'll be doing like AJ, and have all my papers up here, 1,000 stacks deep, and coming at you probably with some crazy information about all types of stuff. But for now, guys, the people of 1953, please like, subscribe, and wait till part 3. We're talking about Clinton's connections to Oklahoma City bombing.